They descended from above. They brought wisdom, power, and then they disappeared. The Sumerians knew them as the Anunnaki, divine beings who arrived from the heavens and shaped the course of humanity. Even biblical texts refer to watchers and giants, offspring of unions with entities not of this earth. It all sounds like pure mythology, doesn't it? But what if these ancient tales aren't fiction at all? What if traces of their lineage still flow through some people even now? Could the Anunnaki, or their descendants, be quietly living among us, subtly influencing the direction of our modern world? We're about to explore that possibility in this new episode of Digging History. Welcome. The tale of the Anunnaki begins in ancient Sumer, more than 6 millennia in the past. In the fertile stretch between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, one of humanity's earliest civilizations began etching its story onto clay tablets. These were the Sumerians, and in their earliest writings, they spoke of mighty beings who came from the skies, beings they named the Anunnaki. To the Sumerians, the Anunnaki weren't ordinary deities. They belonged to a vast cosmic lineage descending from 2 primal forces, An, the sky god, and Kai, the earth goddess. From their union came a family of divine offspring, beings who resided in the heavens but frequently visited Earth. These celestial figures became known as the Anunnaki, meaning those who came from Anu, or simply those from the heavens.
You can shape the world.
Sumerian accounts portrayed the Anunnaki as intelligent and powerful. They governed rain, wind, harvests, and judgment. Each deity held a distinct authority. Enlil ruled the air and upheld sacred laws. Enki, his brother, presided over knowledge and craftsmanship and was deeply connected to water and creation. Some tales describe Enki forming rivers and irrigation systems to sustain human life in the scorching Mesopotamian landscape. The Anunnaki were credited with establishing great ancient cities, Eridu, Uruk, and Nippur. These places were seen as shared realms, where gods and humans lived in harmony. Towering temple structures, known as ziggurats, rose from the land, serving as symbolic stairways between the earth and the heavens. The tablets also speak of powerful systems of law and advanced skills given directly to humanity by these gods: writing, engineering, mathematics, architecture, and healing practices. According to these traditions, the Anunnaki provided these gifts to help humans create a civilized world. But that is merely the beginning of what is said about them. Thousands of years after these tablets were formed, a new interpretation would propel the Anunnaki into modern debate. In the 1970s, author Zecharia Sitchin released a series of books offering an alternate reading of these ancient stories. He examined the same cuneiform tablets, but rather than treating them as mythological tales, he interpreted them as literal historical and scientific documentation. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki were not spiritual gods at all, but advanced beings from another world. He claimed they came from a distant planet named Nibiru, which travels in a massive orbital path around the sun and approaches Earth roughly every 3,600 years. Sitchin argued that the Anunnaki arrived on Earth in prehistoric times, long before the rise of modern humans. Their mission, he believed, was straightforward: to harvest Earth's natural resources, particularly gold, which they allegedly used to stabilize their planet's atmosphere. They descended into what is now southern Mesopotamia and began extracting minerals with technology far beyond anything known in that era. But the labor was grueling, even for them. So the Anunnaki supposedly decided to engineer a new labor force, a being capable of hard work, comprehension, and survival on Earth. According to Sitchin's reinterpretation of Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki selected an early hominid species already living on the planet. Then, using a form of genetic modification, they blended their own DNA with that of these primitive beings. The result was the earliest version of modern humans. Sumerian accounts describe the goddess Ninhursag working with Enki in a sacred facility known as the House of Creation. There, they fashioned a new creature from clay, a word Sitchin believed symbolized organic, biological material. The text mentioned several attempts, early prototypes that failed, until finally one version succeeded. This being could communicate, reason, and reproduce. The Anunnaki named it Adamu, a name strikingly similar to the later biblical name Adam. As time passed, more humans were crafted. They were assigned to mines and agricultural regions, especially in a place Sitchin identified as Abzu, thought to be located somewhere in Africa. Generations later, humans spread across different lands and absorbed the teachings of their creators. Farming, writing, engineering, timekeeping, according to this perspective, didn't originate from human discovery, but from Anunnaki instruction. But some traditions claim the gods shared more than knowledge. They shared their blood. If Sitchin's interpretation is correct, then humanity may literally descend from the Anunnaki. The concept is mysterious enough, but certain ancient sources go further, suggesting some individuals weren't merely created by the gods, they were born from them. Thousands of years ago, in the ancient city of Uruk, a formidable ruler governed the land, Gilgamesh. His saga appears in what is widely considered the oldest surviving literary work, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh wasn't described as an ordinary man. Sumerian tablets portray him as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. According to ancient writings, Gilgamesh was said to be the child of a mortal father and a goddess named Ninsun. His remarkable strength, intelligence, and bold nature were all credited to this divine ancestry. His epic tale revolves around heroic feats, fierce battles, and an unending pursuit to uncover the mystery of immortality. Gilgamesh wasn't the only figure described this way. Across the ancient world, numerous rulers claimed descent from the gods, literally, not symbolically. In Sumerian inscriptions, certain kings were referred to as sons of Anu, the sky god. Others were described as chosen by Enlil, the deity who governed the earth. These titles may have implied far more than political authority. To those who lived in that era, they represented genuine divine lineage. These leaders were believed to possess something extraordinary within them, a fragment of the gods. Their right to rule wasn't earned through elections or victories in war, but through a sacred bloodline. This concept wasn't exclusive to Sumer. In Egypt, pharaohs claimed to descend from Ra, the sun god. In Japan, emperors traced their ancestry to the goddess Amaterasu. In Mesoamerica, rulers were believed to originate from celestial beings who came to Earth to guide humanity. But what if these heavenly bloodlines didn't end in myth?
Giants of the lake.
According to Zechariah Sitchin's interpretation, the Anunnaki didn't simply engineer humans. They lived alongside them. With time, they formed relationships with humans, creating a hybrid lineage. These descendants, Sitchin argued, were physically stronger, mentally sharper, and lived longer than ordinary humans. They became kings, priests, and elite advisors. In virtually every culture, those in power were divine not just in title, but by birth. If this theory holds any truth, it leads to one conclusion. Many of the world's royal families may carry the remnants of Anunnaki genetics. And because these traits were passed down biologically, the bloodline had to be safeguarded.
These symbols hold the knowledge
This is why,
of the stars.
throughout history, royal families married within a carefully controlled circle. In Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, monarchs consistently preserved their lineage, often sacrificing political advantage and personal choice to maintain it. This brings us to one of the most puzzling clues in modern biology, the Rh-negative blood type. Most of humanity, around 85%, possesses Rh-positive blood, meaning they carry a protein on their red blood cells known as the Rh factor, but roughly 15% lack this protein entirely. For someone with Rh-negative blood, receiving Rh-positive blood can cause dangerous immune reactions. Even stranger, if an Rh-negative mother carries an Rh-positive baby, her immune system may attack the fetus as if it were an invading organism. Today, this condition can be treated, but in ancient times, it often led to fatal outcomes. This biological divide raises a profound question. If all humans share the same origin, why would such an incompatibility exist? Some researchers argue that this anomaly may point towards something ancient, something that diverges from the standard human evolutionary path. Rh-negative blood might not have developed naturally. In fact, some believe it may not have evolved at all. And if it didn't originate from early humans, then where did it come from? Rh-negative blood is most common in Europe, particularly in a region between France and Spain, the Pyrenees Mountains. Here lives a distinct ethnic group known as the Basques, who stand apart from neighboring populations in multiple ways. The Basque language resembles no other language on Earth. It is unrelated to Latin, Celtic, or Germanic languages. Their traditions are ancient, their origins obscure, and roughly 35% of the Basque population has Rh-negative blood, more than twice the global rate. Some theorists argue that the Basques could be the last surviving descendants of Atlantis, the legendary advanced civilization often said to possess knowledge far beyond its time. According to this idea, the survivors of Atlantis not only carried advanced wisdom, but also a unique genetic signature. Because Atlantis is sometimes linked to ancient sky beings or extraterrestrial teachers, several researchers have drawn a connection between the Atlanteans and the Anunnaki. If the Anunnaki once guided early humans, it's possible they also influenced the civilization remembered as Atlantis. And just when the mystery seemed unbelievable enough, it became even more bizarre. Across the world, individuals with Rh-negative blood often report unusual traits. But the real intrigue lies not in the traits themselves, but in where this blood type came from. Rh-negative blood did not naturally appear in Asia, the Americas, or sub-Saharan Africa until after European contact. This means it wasn't originally part of the genetic makeup of those regions. It had to be brought in. This contradicts the traditional out-of-Africa model of human evolution, which claims all humans descended from a single ancient population. If that were true, Rh-negative blood should exist globally from the beginning, but it didn't. Instead, it emerged in one region and spread outward. So what does this imply? Some believe Rh-negative blood may be a genetic clue left behind by the Anunnaki. If these beings possessed a biology distinct from early humans, their genes may not have been fully compatible with the species they engineered. Rh-negative blood, according to this idea, could be evidence of that ancient hybridization. Does this imply that everyone carrying Rh-negative blood is somehow linked to the Anunnaki? It sounds far-fetched at first. Yet some things are simply too unusual to dismiss as mere coincidence, don't they? Another polarizing figure in the realm of ancient mystery theories is a British author named David Icke. Back in the 1990s, Icke presented an idea that stunned audiences worldwide. He argued that influential figures across the globe, presidents, royal lineages, high-ranking financiers, were not entirely human. According to him, these individuals descended from the Anunnaki themselves. But Icke didn't stop at that. He pushed the theory further, insisting that the Anunnaki were not just gods, aliens, or mythic visitors. In his narrative, they were shape-shifting reptilian entities originating from another star system. Icke proposed that these reptilian beings arrived on Earth thousands of years ago. In his well-known book, The Biggest Secret, he wrote that the Anunnaki retreated into underground bases and began steering human civilization from the shadows. To remain undiscovered, he claimed, they needed to integrate seamlessly with humanity. So they engineered specific bloodlines, part human, part reptilian. These hybrid families, Icke said, were positioned within the power structures of ancient societies. Over generations, those lineages expanded into today's governments, royal houses, and elite institutions. He claimed that the global ruling class, from the British monarchy to political dynasties in America, to wealthy banking families, all trace back to the same genetic thread. This, he argued, gives the phrase blue blood a far more literal meaning. For Icke, it referred to an intentionally preserved bloodline, carefully protected across centuries, designed to maintain the Anunnaki connection. But that lineage might have started in a location humanity was never meant to uncover. Icke asserted that this bloodline reaches back to a prehistoric era, long before recorded history, when the Anunnaki allegedly arrived from the Alpha Draconis star system. He believed they founded a base on Earth, potentially the very place that Sumerian tablets describe as Eden, the abode of the righteous ones. This location, he argued, later evolved into what we know as the Garden of Eden. From this center, the Anunnaki began intermixing with humans, not just to shape our species, but to govern it. Iki used this idea to explain why certain families have maintained control for countless generations. He believed their authority wasn't random or granted by the people, but inherited through blood. He referred to this system as a global control network, an invisible hierarchy that utilizes ancient wisdom and hidden technology to maintain dominance. Iki further suggested that these beings still manipulate global affairs today. Wars, economic collapses, and even widespread health crises, he claimed, are part of a long-term strategy designed to keep humanity in a state of turmoil. A divided population, he argued, is easier to rule, allowing the ancient bloodlines to retain their grip on power. But what he said next was even more unbelievable. According to Iki, these reptilian descendants appear human in everyday life. But under certain circumstances, he claimed, their true form briefly shows through. Some individuals have even reported seeing unusual changes in the eyes or skin of public figures during live broadcasts. To many, this sounds like something pulled straight from a sci-fi film, and critics have condemned Iki's theories as irrational or dangerous. Yet despite the harsh criticism, his ideas have attracted followers across the world. Today, people from more than 40 nations attend his talks and devour his books. Believers argue that the evidence is hiding in plain sight. The long concentration of authority within a handful of families, the secrecy around influential groups, and the recurring use of ancient symbols across history. They claim that the same bloodline has guided civilizations from ancient Sumer to Egypt to medieval Europe and into the modern halls of government and corporate power. At the core of this belief lies a striking conclusion that certain people walking among us may not be completely human. But why, according to this theory, would ancient beings care about placing their descendants in seats of influence? Iki's answer is simple: control. He argued that the Anunnaki rely not only on material resources, but also on human fear and conflict as a form of energy. By fueling discord through warfare, inequality, and political division, they maintain their hold over society. And by placing their own bloodline in leadership positions, their agenda continues without interruption. What makes this even more unsettling is that a similar story appears in the Bible. But what if the ancient writers were describing the same entities, just using different names? One of the oldest and most enigmatic verses in Scripture suggests that unusual beings once lived on Earth.
Yes, Lord
In Genesis
Anunnaki,
6:4, it
we
reads,
understand the method now.
"There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them." These giants are referred to as the
follow the
Nephilim.
grain of the stone.
Many
just
researchers
like that.
argue they were not merely tall humans, but
Now you try
hybrids.
it.
According to this
What about
interpretation,
this section
the
here?
sons of God were not ordinary men at all. They were beings from the heavens, possibly the same entities the Sumerians knew as the Anunnaki. In this perspective, the Anunnaki of Sumerian texts and the fallen angels of the Bible are the same group. Both are depicted as celestial visitors who descended from above, imparted advanced knowledge, and eventually crossed forbidden boundaries by mating with human women. Their offspring, the Nephilim, were described as larger, stronger, and more aggressive than typical humans. These Nephilim became legendary throughout the ancient world, feared for their strength and their presence. Some researchers argue that their existence may have even played a role in the Great Flood. In the account of Noah, the earth becomes overwhelmed with corruption and violence, prompting God to cleanse nearly all life. The scriptures imply that the Nephilim were wiped out in that catastrophe, but many believe that's not the entire truth. Because after Noah's time, new groups begin appearing throughout the biblical narrative, described as towering, powerful people, unlike ordinary humans. The first of these are the Anakim. In the book of Numbers, when Israelite scouts explored the land of Canaan, they returned shaken. They reported, "We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. To ourselves, we seemed like grasshoppers." The Anakim were considered direct survivors, or descendants of the original Nephilim. They lived in fortified mountain cities and were known for extraordinary size. In several texts, they are called the sons of Anak,
Yes.
a mysterious individual
Did you
who
hear
may
the
have been a
children?
post-flood hybrid himself.
They are so loud
Another
today.
group that appears in the scriptures is the Rephaim. also described as giants inhabiting the same regions. Their settlements were said to contain massive stone structures, including beds of astonishing size, suggesting bodies far larger than any normal human. Other tribes are mentioned as well: the Emim, the Zuzim, and the Zamzumim, all depicted as formidable peoples who once occupied the territories around Canaan. As history progressed, many of these giant clans were pushed back or defeated by the Israelites. Some survivors fled toward the Philistine coast, where one of the most renowned giants in history would later emerge. One of the last giants described in the Bible was Goliath. In the first book of Samuel, he is introduced as a champion from Gath, a man standing over 9 feet tall, clad in armor far too heavy for ordinary warriors. Goliath's immense size, power, and intimidating presence set him apart from any normal soldier. Many believe he was part of the Anakim lineage, possibly one of the final remnants of the Nephilim bloodline. Some alternative theorists go even further, suggesting that fragments of Nephilim genetics may still be present in a few human families today, especially those connected to ancient tribes, ruling houses, or long-standing priestly groups. These people wouldn't be literal giants, but they might possess unusual traits: greater strength, heightened intelligence, or even a distinct type of blood. So, are descendants of the Anunnaki still living among us? We may never know with certainty whether modern aristocratic lines truly carry ancient celestial DNA, or whether global leaders secretly hold blue blood linked to shape-shifting beings from beyond the stars. But one thing seems undeniable. Something once walked the earth that was not entirely human. In more recent times, accounts have surfaced that seem to mirror these ancient narratives. Eyewitness stories of towering humanoids with abnormal features and impossible strength, reported by people with nothing to gain. One of the most debated examples is the Giant of Kandahar. In 2002, during a mission in the rugged mountains of Afghanistan, a team of American soldiers discovered a strange cave. What came out of it would never make it into official briefings. According to testimony from former military members, a colossal humanoid emerged, easily 12 feet tall, with flaming red hair, pale skin, 6 fingers on each hand, and carrying a spear-like weapon the size of a telephone pole. The creature attacked with astonishing speed, killing one soldier instantly. The rest of the unit fought back with everything they had. After a prolonged firefight, the massive being finally fell. Before photos or measurements could be taken, a helicopter arrived, secured the body, and disappeared. The event was buried, but the survivors never forgot what they witnessed. Another chilling case comes from Lovelock Cave in Nevada. In 1911, miners digging for bat guano uncovered something far more surprising: preserved remains of red-haired giants measuring 8 to 10 feet tall. Archaeologists also recovered oversized sandals and tools crafted for hands far bigger than any modern humans. Local Native American tribes, including the Paiute, had always spoken of the Site-Ka, a fierce race of red-haired giants who once inhabited the region. Mainstream researchers have tried to dismiss the red coloring as natural hair degradation over time, but eerily similar legends appear throughout the Americas. These accounts echo what was recorded in ancient Sumer, in Genesis, and in carvings and myths across the planet. Perhaps the real question is not whether the Anunnaki have descendants among us, but whether their presence here ever truly ended.